Mayday for a vessel overturned, I think happened right around 9:15.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish Hunt Northwest of Wayne, England, the Barnum.
Yep.
Sitting over there looking good.
Always.
How's this rain treating you, man?
I'm tired of it already.
Are ya?
Yeah, it's not, I mean, we don't have to put up with it for long. It'll be gone like what, August? It'll be great.
Maybe July if we're lucky. Yeah. June, July, August. Yeah. It is coming down out there.
Oh, man.
We'll get into a little weather later on. I forgot to tell you that. We're going to check some weather late in the show, but we'll get to it. It is definitely raining no matter where you're at throughout Western Washington and even some on the east side, so that's got to be kind of interesting. David is gone.
Yep.
He quit. He asked for a raise, told him to pack sand. He packed his bags and he left. So I don't know what's going on, but no. David is on vacation, apparently, a work vacation. I think down to Vegas again.
Yeah,
I
think
he said
he was
right?
going to Vegas again.
IT Geek Symposium or something like that. So he's down there doing his thing. We got Blake over in IT Corner tonight getting it done. So make sure you chat us up and he'll help us out getting those responses to you all. Appreciate you joining us. Chef Kelly and Sheri in the kitchen later on. I think we got a little echo going, Blake. Your mother will let me know if we do. Anyway, Chef Kelly and Sheri will be in the kitchen later on as the show progresses. Fantastic recipe of the week. Doing some duck.
Yeah.
Gonna do some
that time of year.
Yeah, so it's opening weekend last weekend.
Yep.
We have a number of guests lined up. We'll be talking with Jarrod Kirkley, going back and revisiting with him about his RiverJunky movement and all the river cleanup that they've done. You are going to be amazed at the amount of garbage that they have picked up to date. Right. It's a mind blow. You cannot believe we got that much garbage out there, the homeless encampments and everything else going on. It's a ton of garbage. So we'll check in with him, see what's going on there and how you can help as a concerned outdoors person, whether you fish, hunt, enjoy the outdoors, enjoy the rivers. You gotta put in your time once in a while when the call comes to help clean that stuff up.
A lot of it's karma.
A lot of it's karma. Yep. If you haven't been catching fish lately, you might want to spend a day helping clean up your favorite river at your home stretch. So we'll check in with him. We're also going to check in with Chris Vertopoulos, Chris V's Guide Service, also an FHN Field Correspondent for us now. Yep. Glad to have him on board. We're going to check with him on the Chinook fishery that's going on down the south coast or down the coast of Oregon there in pretty strong fishery that extends all the way through December.
Right.
You know, throughout that Oregon coast. So check in with Chris, see what he has going. And of course, we're going to, the whole reason for me going down this tirade is we will also have a check-in with our buddy Shelby Ross over there, Ross Outdoor Adventures, out of the Mardon area, the Mardon Duck Taxi and everything Shelby's got going on. They got a cast and blast opportunity which just took off with the opening of duck last week. Right. So now, and the walleye fishing can be really good all through the winter. In both regards are doing well. Duck limits, walleye limits, fishing, hunting's good. I'm going to get to go over there in about a week and a half, but we'll talk about that later. I know. So we got that coming up. Want to remind you, Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons, located in Puyallup, Washington, and we thank them for that. A lot of things going on the show tonight. We're pretty packed. Lots of information that we got to get through, Barnum. Our how-to segment in the bait lab, albeit not quite in the bait lab. I actually did a little presentation on the river the other day before the rain hit. So that'll be a pre-record. The show is live, but once in a while we got to interject a segment here and there. So we are out there on the water. We had a lot of questions last week following up with the bobber dog presentation I did as our how-to segment in the bait lab. When I broke down the, how to rig for bobber dogging, talked a little bit about your bobber dog approach for coho using bait. A lot of questions came in throughout the week, so I thought, well, let's answer them while we're out here on the river. Right, kind of show how that float goes through the water and just kind of put it all together. Hopefully we end up answering most of the questions through that presentation. So that'll be later in the show. Make sure you stick in here for that. With that, lots of stuff going on throughout the Northwest and Puget Sound and beyond. Things happening every week that you and I try to keep abreast of. Did you receive the email requests from WDFW? If you're a big game hunter, you've submitted for licensing over the past couple of years, especially on this west side, if you target blacktail, you probably got an email.
Right.
They're asking for assistance in the removal and then submission of incisor teeth out of your blacktail deer.
Right.
Out of your bucks.
So what does it say in the email, what they're looking to do with that information?
Yeah, so first of all, they want out of only certain areas. Let's see, GMUs of 4, 5, and 600 series.
Right.
GMUs, and that's where I hunt, 600 series. So basically in and around this area for the most part, they're looking to utilize that information to gain information on age class of deer. So they want, if you kill a buck, doesn't matter what time of year, through any season, muzzleloader, modern rifle, archery, no matter when, during the season, you get a buck, spike, 2-point, 3-point, 4-point, right. God forbid something bigger, in a blacktail. They want you to remove the incisor. Now that's one of the front 2 teeth or 4 teeth there.
Yep.
They have a video link. You probably got the email, but there's a how-to video. It's an okay video. It kind of gives you the idea. It's really not that difficult. You take your knife, you cut straight down along the root between 2 incisors, all the way to the very bottom of that gum line, and then you're just kind of wiggling that tooth back and forth. Once you relieve that pressure of that gum, holding it in there,
comes right out.
It comes right out. I would suggest make sure your deer is fully dead before you attempt this. I'm no genius, but I'm thinking. Anyway, and then there's a process. There's a form you fill out. Area that you obtain the deer, information that goes along with it, a little questionnaire that you fill out. You submit that, put it in an envelope, you mail it in. Then there's also a reference number that is your tracking number. You submit that, and then you hang on to that reference number. And they're actually able to go back in at some point and look it up as they make this information available. So you will literally find out how old your deer was. And obviously the unit it's from. And then they're going to compile this data to truly gauge the population of deer in this general area and age class. Right. So it's kind of interesting.
Interesting study.
There's going to be the naysayers that like, I ain't giving them any of my information. They don't need to know that stuff. Well, truly, to manage game, the more information we can assist them with on specific things like this, removing a tooth and sending it in, not a big deal. And you're helping out tremendously because they do the DNA genetics off of that. They can then start linking in the commonalities of deer populations, where these bucks are taken from, how many of them are connected genetically, and all those things. I mean, it's really interesting.
I've had a lot of friends and a lot of people, and I'm one that have asked for antler restrictions on blacktail deer. Go to a 2-point minimum or a 3-point minimum in a few units and see how that affects age class. And maybe this is the beginnings of a study that could help figure out if that would be something that we need or something that would be valid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the biggest ones live right among us.
Right.
They're smart, they're stealthy, they're nocturnal. You never see them during the day. But you get them on your cameras, and you're like, where are you at? So, interesting study coming out by WDFW. Lend a hand if you can. If you're hunting blacktail, it'd be great if you could be involved with that. That would be fantastic. What is this? Oh, anyway. Secondary to that, Barnum, rifle hunting numbers success down in Okanagan, Northeast Washington.
Right.
As a report came out this last week after the opening weekend.
Right, so it says numbers are down to somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 16%, depending on the check station and stuff we went to. But one of the most concerning things, when I kind of went through this story and read it, was hunters' numbers were down. And from what a lot of the game checkers were saying, the youth numbers were especially down. I mean, you would attribute that to no doe seasons up there for the most part. There's only really one area in the northeast corner that's open for doe this year, and that's 124 in Mount Spokane. Everything north of that was, no does. And I mean, that's obviously, I think that probably reduced numbers. You find a lot of the local people in the northeast, especially in the northeast corner, and I'm sure Okanagan might be somewhat similar. They don't want to start hunting until that later hunt, They just kind of, you're not going to see those big mature bucks running around the first part of October.
Migratory bucks,
Yeah, and the same thing with Okanagan, you're not going to have those big migratory bucks moving down this early. But, I mean, we were over there this weekend, and I can say that, numbers were down. We didn't see hardly any people. at all. And we hunted quite a bit of public land stuff, and we hunted the Mount Spokane area that was open for does, because I had a friend whose daughter was on her first deer hunt. We were hoping to fill a tag for her, and she wasn't successful this weekend, but she'll get plenty more chances to get over there and hunt, so not a big deal. But yeah, didn't see a lot of traffic at all. One thing we did encounter, which was surprising, over, I've been going over that area, the Mount Spokane, Selkirk, 49 degrees north area for 20 years. And one thing we did, and this has kind of been a hot topic among sportsmen, is landlocked public ground that you have to cross private property to get to public. We used to do that over there all the time, right-of-ways, nobody cared. And all of a sudden this year, and maybe in some of these areas I hadn't hunted in 2 or 3 years, but a lot of lock gates and private property, no access, not a public road. And it made finding ground to access, at least in that Mount Spokane unit, a little trickier for us compared to where we normally hunt.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, Onyx has done a fantastic job identifying. Now, their recent update this last year was state landlocked areas that are non-accessible via a state or county road or right-of-way or anything like that. They had done federal, and now they've done state. So you basically get a look at both, and it really shows you the amount of acreage that is landlocked. And the only way you're going to get to be able to go hunt that stuff is either through permissions, which is difficult because everybody toting a gun wants to go knock on their door. These farmers and whatnot, and say, hey, do you mind if I, I do. But that's where you got to be a little creative and entice these folks with some smoked salmon, things that they don't normally get on the east side, So it helps to know somebody to kind of give you that handoff to go introduce you to so-and-so, and there's that type of networking that still works. But for the most part, the landlock issue is real. It's getting larger because of the way they sell land and buy chunks of land.
The way they do, and also just, I think, and not putting this on the back of sportsmen, but the way land is used now. I mean, you have so much dumping and so much, in fact, so we ended up accessing a piece of public ground that, I guess in retrospect, we broke the law. The game warden met us on the other side of it. We didn't we didn't understand. We didn't know the boundary line, and we actually thought that we had found a public road in. He stopped us and asked us if we had permission to cross the property we crossed. I said, no, we don't. And he actually said, well, I don't know that the guy doesn't want people in here. He goes, because I haven't physically talked to him, but he goes, you need to make sure you have permissions. But he checked us all out, and we were 100% legal. So he's like, you know what? I'm not going to ruin your guys' day. Go hunting. And he goes, you guys are the only ones back here. And he goes, if anybody comes back here that's not even remotely any part of their stuff legal, he's like, they're getting a ticket and getting sent out of here. So he's like, you might have it all to yourselves. And we did. We didn't see anybody.
So he was actually the gatekeeper for you the rest of the day,
he was kind of being the gatekeeper. And I don't know if he kind of lived in that area, but super nice guy. We had like a 15, 20-minute conversation. It was a really, I hear all the time how, game wardens are jerks. Or, they're always looking for illegal. He was super nice, and it was a great contact,
Well, it just shows you that when you do it right. In other words, you guys had all your legal documents.
Everything was legal. Everybody had their tags, no loaded rifles. Hunters had orange. We had our Discover Pass. And when he stopped me, he goes, did you have permission to cross that property? And I said, no, I didn't. Like, I'm not going to try to lie. Like, I didn't,
Speaking of hunter orange, your buddy's daughter now could actually wear, well, you could too, Barnum, if you want.
I could wear my pink.
Hunter pink. That doesn't have to be women's exclusive. So we may see some fellas out there toting the pink camo. But, well, kudos to you because, you do it right. And there is that chance once in a while, if it's not cut and dry, you might find yourself accessing, albeit public land, but you may go past a road or a sliver of land that is, owned by somebody, not posted. Wasn't posted, no trespassing.
No, it wasn't posted, and we drove through, and that's what he asked. He asked me, was it posted at all? I said, I didn't see any signs, and he goes, okay, well, and it was kind of funny because that was the only way he could have got in, and I was going to ask him, so did you have permission when you drove through the private
land? Did you notice
land?
anything was posted? But, it's interesting because you can have all your documents in order, guns unloaded, wearing your hunter orange, all your safety, checks are in place. And then you see a sign, you're like out in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, screw it, we're going in there. Then you meet Mr. Gamey. He's like, well, this is all good, but that is posted out there, and you trespass. So I'm gonna have to cite you for trespassing.
Yeah, and he could have.
He
totally could have.
Yep. So Well, you know, it brings to light once again, the hunting in some regards in certain areas is getting tougher.
Right.
Not that there's more hunters.
Right.
You just mentioned at the start of this that there's less, you know, youth hunters out. In your observation for this general area,
right.
and they reported that as well. And
I think there was some miscommunication across, and I don't know how, but I mean, all that information came out before season that there was no doe hunts basically.
Right.
But we had this one unit. Mm-hmm. And I actually was talking to a friend of mine that hunts over there all the time and told him what we were doing, and we were going to go hunt Mount Spokane. And he's like, there's no doe season in Mount Spokane. There's none in any of those. And I said, flip through the book, and I was like, yes, it is. And I actually messaged our buddy Tom Ryle, and I said, confirm this for me, because he should know. Yeah. And he's like, no, you're good. He's like, yeah, there's an antler season in Mount Spokane.
Well, there's a few pockets that you're going to find. You got to dig through the red zone.
That could have kept people away, and the fact that they read that press release put out by a media agency and went, oh, well, no doe season, I'm not going.
Well, we're up against certain areas. You know, we've lost deer due to disease. Mm-hmm. It was a hard winter last year. Winter kill was high. We're still dealing with, in some areas on the east side over in Washington, secondary to the wildfires the last couple seasons. Right. Although 2019 was not that bad.
Right.
And so, you know, hopefully we'll get some of these deer herds on the rebound.
Right. That's kind of going through some of the public comment on this story was, I mean, you still have 90% of the public comment is predator. Yeah. Predator. And I mean, I have to agree in the sense that, man, I'll tell you what, just scrolling social media, you know, this weekend and the first part of this week, the amount of pictures of dead cougars I saw from opening weekend of deer season was unbelievable.
Extremely high.
Yeah, it seemed like, I just don't remember that from previous seasons.
Right.
I just don't, which is a great thing. Guys are out shooting cougars. And
did you happen to notice how big some of those cats were? They're like healthy.
Right.
They're eating just fine.
Right.
I mean, those are big kitties. Great segue, my friend, because next on the list here is coming up the commission monthly meeting. So October 18, 19, down here in Olympia, the commission getting together for their weekend meeting. They will be briefed on the current cougar management, and the briefing will include how the department currently manages cougars, the science behind it, and a comparison to neighboring states.
Right.
So if you are frustrated with the predation on our ungulate populations throughout Washington, both west and east side, and want to know what's going on, at least in the realm of cougars, and you're in this Olympia area or here on the west side, even if you're up, you know, a little north of here, and, you know, rivers are going to be punched. You're not fishing this weekend unless you're out on the salt water. And or, you know, hopefully you're out hunting. If you're not chasing ducks, then hopefully you're after your deer. But if you got time, make your way down here. Look up the Washington State Fish and Wildlife Commission meeting agenda. Just simply Google that. It's going to tell you on the 18th and 19th, it will literally break down the entire agenda for the weekend. You'll know exactly when they're going to be presented with the information relative to predation management and specific science on the cougar management. Right. If I wasn't working, I would definitely go sit in on that because I'm interested in what they're going to say.
Well, and it's just another example, and if our good friend Bo was here, he'd be ranting and raving right now. Here it is, middle of hunting season, and we're going to have a meeting on predator management.
Meeting on predator management.
Like, are we serious? Like, why is this meeting happening on a, you know?
Well, it is on a weekend. Of course, that's when most guys will be hunting.
Everybody's going to be hunting. I mean, they got to work. I mean, it just... We have to get better with this meeting schedule.
Their commission meetings are, you know, unfortunately, they're always on weekends. Sometimes they're a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some of them are closed to public. Some of the topics specific are kept under wraps. But, you know, these ones that are out there for public to hear, and I didn't read anywhere whether or not they're live streaming this or not. That becomes pretty convenient if they do that. I would encourage them. I'll check with Tom, but they should be doing that every commission meeting. Stream it live. Why wouldn't you? At least people can listen in, if not weigh in at a later date. So I'll be curious to what they're going to say. I hope it's not just a bunch of, you know, smoke and mirrors and we don't have a cougar problem.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about what neighboring states are doing, let's talk about Idaho. I mean, they're still running hounds. They're still doing it that way, and they don't, I mean,
I hope that's the comparison.
They're managing their predators.
Yeah, I hope that's the comparison. I hope,
they're trapping wolves now. I mean, it's, I mean, they are in full bore they seen the decline that happened when predators kind of started to get out of control, and they went full way head on, like, we're going to curb this
Well, they're
problem.
trying to find that balance, right? They're trying to find that balance, and if it's left unchecked, we'll end up dealing with very much like our pinniped
We're seeing
problem.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hands down. You can't say the amount of human conflict between bears and humans, cougar and humans, wolf and livestock and human. It's taken this 20 years from the 96, 97 initiative, 695 that banned hound and baiting. And now you're seeing it truthful.
Sure.
I mean, this is what we said would happen in 96 and 97, and now we're getting it.
I'm really curious if they'll have data to support truly what the population of cats are in Washington State and or bears. I would like to see that number. I know a number of years ago, interviewing Scott Haugen, he was talking specifically about Oregon at the time. This might be, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago, 6 years ago. Black bear population in Oregon was 35,000. So there's no shortage on bear or cats. And you know, obviously last week the information was pretty compelling from Julia Smith on the whole wolf thing. Want to thank everybody for tuning in on that one. We ran a little long, but people hung in there, Barnum. That information was not only valuable, but folks were very cordial. They were hitting us up with questions that were of concern, and you know, really good information exchange. I felt like it was a success. And
I got messages from friends. I seen messages online that were kind of angry with us that we didn't really press them on the ungulate thing. And we talked about at the beginning of the show, like, we're going to get the ungulate guy in here, and we're going to ask those questions. The same questions and the same complaints I was getting from buddies, I have those same questions.
Absolutely.
So those questions will get asked. We just knew going into that conversation that wasn't her line of specialty.
So let's recap that real quick. So to lessen the frustration, understand that Julia is the coordinator of the wolf management plan. And they're following their plan, as she said. You know, they're initially going into this document was to reach capacity in 2021. So it's still on the uptick. Don't freak out about that, but it is. The reason we didn't go down the path of speaking specifically on impacts to ungulate population and or why we didn't talk about the interaction with ranchers, how much money is doled out for lost you know, cattle, how much money this is costing, all those components aside from just the management plan was because if you understand the way WDFW is constructed, there are specialists that oversee those specific topics, and we cannot ask of Julia to come in here and represent those other folks in their divisions and have that conversation. It was we were let known that those conversations we will have, it's going to be with the individual who is in charge of that specific topic, and that's truly who you want to hear from anyway. You don't want to hear from somebody else that kind of knows. You want to hear from the person, the man or woman in charge of that division. And that's what you and I are working on to get those folks in here. You and I want to have the ungulate conversation,
Absolutely. And we want to ask the questions that you guys want to ask. I mean, for sure. I mean, we have those same concerns. I'm a hunter. I'm an elk hunter. I'm a deer hunter. I hunt deer in the Northeast. I hunt deer in the West.
You're over there.
I hunt elk in the West. Like, I want answers to these questions and what effects they're having.
So and because of the growth of the wolf management program since 2008, if you were paying attention last week, you know, it started with 5 wolves in 2008, so we're 11 years into this thing, and we're at 126 wolves, and you know, the program's going to continue to go down the path that is set. But yeah, we want to have those conversations relative to the ungulates and figure out how much impact they're having on big game and the livestock interaction and problems that reoccurring over there would also be an interesting conversation. I'd actually like to get those two persons in here at the same time. Because then we'll make a whole show of it. So, all right, hit us up with any questions or concerns here on the text line. Lots of comments coming in. Keep them going. Hey, little extension on the hunting talk here. You picked up a new toy.
I did. And what an interesting week that caused.
So you and I have used trail cams for years, right? I just went and checked my cameras today. Got a nice healthy 2-point on there that I'm looking forward to maybe sticking an arrow in the next week or so if he rears his wonderful head during the daylight hours. Anyway, you also have used trail cams, but your property's 6 hours away. So
8 hours.
8 hours.
6 hours. Well, 7 and a half.
Yeah. So you finally said, I'm biting the bullet, and you bought the trail cams that you can Bluetooth to your cell phone.
Right. So over the past couple years, as that technology came out, I kept wanting to pull the trigger and buy cellular trail cams, but the pricing and the plans and wanting to let the technology progress. You know, I didn't want to buy a trail cam that, 3 months later is basically they went defunct. And, so wanted to wait until some of the bigger names brought it out, and actually ended up pulling the trigger, bought a cell cam system that actually you can multiple cameras out, like 16 cameras that will communicate with one main camera, which will then email the pictures to you.
It's like cameras in a hub.
Yeah, it's like you're creating a grid network of cameras to cover, which is great for us on top of, keeping track of deer and deer movement, but security at our property too, since we're 8 hours away.
Right.
And so you can set the camera up to, send you pictures every time it takes a picture. It can send you pictures every time you get 25 or 50 or 100 pictures, or it can send its pictures to you every 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. Well, I set it up for this first time, just 4 hours. Every 4 hours, midnight, 4 a.m., 8 a.m., my phone beeps, and I'm like, 4 a.m., I hear beep. Oh, I'm up.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm up.
What's going on?
Yeah, checking it out. Well, interesting. So I put the cameras out, and I've had cameras in this particular spot for 4 years, almost 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And never had issues with bears at all. I have hundreds of pictures of bears. Never had issues with bears.
Right.
That camera was up for literally 2 days and getting great pictures. It's exciting. Every 4 hours you're jacked. And then all of a sudden I get an email. I open it up. I'm like, oh, a bear. Oh, a bear's face. Oh, my camera's moving. I see trees. Now my camera is being packed.
Seriously?
Yes. So I'm like, oh my God. And this is like 8 o'clock in the morning, right? When I get these pictures.
Yeah.
And they're from like just a few minutes before. So I called my buddy that lives over there. I'm like, what are you doing today? He's like, well, I'm a little bit busy, but not much this afternoon. And I said, can you walk into my property? It's like a mile walk. I mean, this is a big ask.
Yeah.
Like, can you walk in there? And I don't care. Find my camera. Like it's $400 camera. Find my camera.
Yeah.
And so he goes in there and forgot his cell phone. And I forgot to mention that I have 2 cameras hanging because I left the old one because in case the cell camera didn't work,
I see where this is going.
He walks all the way up there, sees a camera, goes, camera's great, walks out, comes back, says, camera's good. He's like, it's hanging on the tree. I'm like, no, it's not. And he's like, oh, I said, well, don't worry about it. I'm going back over for the weekend. The next morning, 7:30 a.m., I get my pictures at 8, 7:30 a.m., Mrs. Bear is back, and she's on my camera eating it again.
On the ground?
Yeah. And I call him. I'm like, dude, I hate to tell you this, but you got to go back. Like, she came back, and she's eating my camera again. Like, you got to go find my camera. And so he goes back up there, and she's actually there when he gets there. Because he gets there like an hour after I get these, it was 7:30. I got the pictures at 8. He gets up there about 9, and she's still there.
Oh, man.
And he chases her off and said she wasn't happy. She kind of wolfed at me a couple times and made a scene. And he goes, but she left. And he had to look around for the longest time to find the camera. And technology serves us well in the sense that he calls me on the phone. He's like, I can't find the camera. He's like, it's nowhere to be found. I don't know where it is. And I tell him, I said, well, last picture shows a pine tree with some type of green leaf tree underneath it.
Seriously?
Pointed up in the air. He's like, okay. That shouldn't be too hard to find. So he walks around. He's like, okay,
landmarks.
I see a little scrub alder tree. He goes, oh, there's your camera. Picked it up. It's all in good shape. The bear didn't destroy it. It broke the clip off the back and chewed on that a little bit. But yeah, talk about causing a whole bunch of stress in your life.
Must be a Yeti camera. So
I don't know, but it caused a whole bunch of stress.
I wonder why she went after that camera. And the other one was sitting right next to it.
I did some research into this, kind of digging into it, and made some phone calls from some buddies, and was told, and through a little bit of research, maybe human scent on it, what'd you have for breakfast could be a cause of it. The morning I set it out.
Sure.
Maybe had some smell on my hand that the bear liked, but another buddy of mine who runs a lot of trail cameras kind of proposed an interesting idea, which somewhat makes sense to me, that bears can smell alkaline batteries. And for whatever reason are attracted to the smell of alkaline batteries. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense for the fact that I've had a camera up there for 4 years. So I started thinking about it. I've always ran the Energizer lithium-ion batteries.
Right.
Always. Because they last longer. I mean, I'll get a full year out of my camera.
Yeah.
I had my wife stop and get batteries for all these new cell cameras, and she stopped at Costco and got Duracell alkaline batteries.
Oh, yeah.
And so the first time I hang this camera with the different batteries, but I still will say it could be that, you know, maybe we had bacon for breakfast or whatever, and that
maybe you did,
but
maybe it's the battery stuff.
But he's told me the same thing. That I mean, he's pretty serious about spraying down scent killer, wears rubber gloves, the whole 9 yards, and he says that every time he puts in alkaline batteries, he has bear encounters.
No kidding.
And it was funny because
they smell sweet to him or something.
Yeah, I called him and told him all about it, and he's like, "Oh man, it's terrible." Blah. The next day, he messaged me, "Last night on my cell camera, a bear tried to eat my camera." He's like, "You jinxed me."
Wow. Well, I mean, the technology's fantastic. You're able to check it from home, but man, that kind of gives you a little bit of a saga too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was stressed. I mean, I'm sitting there like, "Oh my God." I mean, I just spend the money to put this camera out, and it gets ruined like the first 2 days.
Well, and if it wasn't a cell phone type of system, you may not have found that camera.
No, and it was probably 50 yards from where it would have been hung. Yeah, the bear had packed it that far.
All right.
And yeah, so I mean, the other side of it, that sucks, but yeah, I got the camera back. The other crappy side is now you're trying to create a hunting area where there's no human pressure, and my buddy had to go in there 2 different times looking for this camera, make a bunch of noise and everything else.
Well, he didn't have to.
Well, I mean,
it's $400 camera.
Right, but I mean, that's what. So there I was trying to relieve human pressure, going to cell cameras, so I don't have to check them as often, and we created way more pressure than we ever would have.
It'll settle down. Now you got to dial it in. You got your camera set up. You can check from home. And you can take those pictures and post them up too. Yeah. Share them on FHN Facebook page. So, real good. Okay, I hope that works out for you.
I do too, because I'm over it.
Okay. All right. Before we jump out to break, I want to remind y'all, hey, we got our new line of swag. Got our new Hunter orange and black trucker style hat. We got the blue and the green, of course, with the black back and the blue. Sewn on patch now. Pretty tight looking.
Right.
I like
Good
it.
Looking at just in time for rifle elk season.
Yep. And then also we got our new line of our hunting wares with the Fish Hunt Northwest and the elk in the landscape scenery on the back. This is actually, it probably just looks black on TV, but this is the black camel. Right. These things are pretty awesome. We have black camel, green camel. We got brown long sleeve tees, green long sleeve tees, t-shirts, hats, all kinds of stuff. We're going to add all that stuff to our swag photo album on our Fish Hunt Northwest Facebook page. You can simply go there, look at all the items we have for sale. Prices are listed as well. And then just message us up here on Facebook. Sheri will take care of you. She'll get your money and get it shipped off to you. It's all included, and it couldn't be any easier. Right. I mean, to literally get on there and look at what you want and hit us up. Would love for you folks to be out there wearing our branding and get our branding recognized. So, all right, with that, we're only a few minutes late, which is not too bad. Oh, quick mention. What am I looking at? Wallace River reopens for hatchery coho. I also saw, which is today, the Wallace River reopens for hatchery coho limited 2. I also saw Lower Columbia. Yep. I think I caught a glimpse of that email as we're scrambling around getting ready for the show. Lower Columbia, I believe below Beacon Rock, all the way to the mouth, is open for coho once again.
I think that's right.
So we do get back on some coho fishing on that Lower Columbia. So get after that. We will jump into weather talk and fishing opportunity later in the show. So don't go anywhere. We will get to that. It looks a little wet out there. Rivers are definitely on the rise. Going to be an up-and-coming weekend for deer and bird hunting, to say the least. Thinking about midweek next week when those rivers get on the drop. Things could get pretty darn good for coho fishing. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump out for a quick break. If you're not familiar with RiverJunky, you should be. Jarrod Kirkley has been doing it for a few years. I believe 2016. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. May have been the year that he launched this fantastic nonprofit organization. The amount of garbage that they have collected and taken to the dump around the area, both Washington and Oregon over the last few years, is a mind blow. And this is only through the efforts of people volunteering and helping him out. And of course, companies stepping up as sponsors, contributing sponsors to his cause to provide monies to where the amount of garbage can be taken to landfill and disposed of. They have an event coming up this weekend. We had posted it up on our Facebook page for cleanup on the Puyallup. Once again, they've done it once before, and they're back hitting the Puyallup this weekend, Saturday. Sportco is a sponsoring company involved with that, so we appreciate that. Thank you, Sportco, providing the dumpster collection point for everybody to meet. They dispatch and go do the river, and then they come back and put all the garbage in the dumpster. So Sportco's paying for it this weekend. But Jarrod is got a lot of good information that we want to discuss with him, and we're going to do that when we come back right after this break.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Fish Hunt Northwest. Ooh, that is loud. Holy cow. Okay, that was me. Welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest. We are getting things squared away here. Jarrod Kirkley, have you ever checked out the FishJunky?
No.
Stuff going on?
No, I've heard a little bit about him, and it's awesome.
Yeah, doing really good stuff. And thanks for taking the time to jump on tonight, Jarrod. How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Hey, we're good. So, was it 2016 you started or 2017?
September 20 of 2016.
Okay, 16. Yeah. So you established RiverJunky. It's a nonprofit. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about how and why you established it, and talk a little bit about your nonprofit organization, if you would.
Oh yeah. So RiverJunky is, it's just a process of design that we came up with. had a lot of bad experience on rivers before, hypodermic needles in fish. I mean, we've seen it all in the pollution side of things in the rivers. And I just came up with a plan. Just got tired of seeing it, and got a bunch of buddies together and friends of friends of friends, and we've all banded this group together, and we've just been removing trash from the rivers ever since.
Yeah, when you originally got going on that, how'd you originally start paying to dump that stuff off at the dump?
When we first got going, we did it out of our own pockets.
Yeah.
Like, we'd all throw in money together and stuff and pay for the dumps, and then we started like selling like gear and, you know, just taking little small avenues to get small donations to pay for the dumpsters. The dumpsters are not cheap by any means, depending on, you know, what city or county you're in. So, you know, it took a little bit of time to raise money and stuff, but then we reached out to sponsors, and we kind of rely on sponsors now to help us pay for the trash removal and the dumpsters and bags and things like that. So,
are most of the trips you're doing on the river, are you hitting mostly the public land, or are you guys like walking the rivers, you know, the river stream, the streams, and like hitting private land, you know, and stuff too? What's the main? How are you guys accessing the rivers, and what's the main areas you're cleaning?
We do both. So like we've done tons of public access areas, and then we've done private property areas. We've had people that own private property call on us to help clean up, you know, areas. So we do both, and just depends on, you know, where it's needed is how we kind of hone in and pick a spot. So
right.
If we are in an area that's our third event at the Peel up here.
Okay.
But we've removed, we're pushing $250,000, man. So since 2016 to date, we've got over 200,000 pounds of trash so far. So
That is unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
Yep. And, you know, a good percentage of that in high water events would have been pushed right out into Puget Sound and find its way out towards the ocean, but mostly polluting and cluttering up Puget Sound in some of those areas. Right. And then, of course, you have other rivers that you're taking care of as well. But hats off to you, man. That is it's more than a ton of garbage. It's it's a lot of garbage. So what's going on as of lately as far as, you know, your sponsorship, and how do people get involved? Okay, so you're announcing that, you know, the Puyallup cleanup again is this Saturday, the 19th. You're going to meet down at Sportco at what time?
10 o'clock.
Okay.
Event starts at like 10:30, so it'd be good to be there about 10.
Okay. And then you guys all head on over to the river, and you get guys coming out with drift boats too, floating the river and helping you clean up stuff as well, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, tricked out event to see. You know, you get people in pontoons and little skiff boats and drift boats, and you know, some people bring quads, and it's a whole just walk of life of people from, you know, everywhere, and they just come out and bring their tools and move the stuff and, you know, help us get the trash. And back to the, you know, over 200,000 pounds of trash, that's all removed by human hands, no machines whatsoever.
Right. Well, you know, and some of those homeless encampments have been pretty interesting in a sense that they've been, you know, they borderline being a biohazard for one.
Right.
And I know you've had a couple events that you've had to ask parents to, let's leave the kids at home on this one. It's too dangerous. There's needles. There's you know, opportunity for somebody to get injured or exposed to something. So some of those are so bad in the situation that you find that you end up having to leave the kids home. But in a lot of your events, it seems like you encourage parents to bring your kids out, teach them how to clean up the river, show them what it truly means to help out in society and lend that day of volunteering. I know that you need people to help out in a sense of monetary donations. You need companies, and I'm encouraging companies to get back on board and help you out financially. It's all a nonprofit, as you mentioned. Talk a little bit about that. All the money that you guys bring in goes to very few specific things to help you guys keep this going. What does that money go towards?
So any donations we get, it goes towards, let me back up one little bit here. I did want to touch on something. You had a good point about the dangerous homeless camps and stuff like that. So speaking about that, we have kind of backed off a little bit on doing homeless camps for the very reason that there's just so much high-profile, dangerous stuff when you enter one of those things. And so what we've kind of done now is we've kind of made a little different approach to it, because back, even just a year ago, we were doing homeless camps that were less than 2 to 3 days from being inactive, from the sheriff evicting them and getting them out of there. So like when you go in, it's what we call like a hot homeless camp. There is needles and guns and stolen property and chemicals to make drugs, and so it is biohazard.
Sure.
But we have found that as those homeless camps get evicted, the longer that they sit there and kind of cool down a little bit to where the transients are not coming back and being active in there, then we can make an approach and get those things cleaned up. It's just less harmful, less hazardous.
Right.
So that we just feel that as far as homeless camps, when we first started till about a year ago, sheriff's offices and lots of places would call on us to clean those up, and we've won awards for it, and it's been great, but it is very dangerous, so we've backed up a little bit on those.
Well, how can we help you out to get people to find you and lend a hand physically, boots on the ground, and also financially? Hopefully, some companies will jump back on board and help you with sponsorship. So, where can they track you down? Facebook, RiverJunky, a good route to go.
Yeah, so we have a Facebook group, which is RiverJunky Conservation.
Right.
As soon as you type it in, all of our RiverJunky pages come up. We have a Facebook page and we have a website, which is riverjunky.us. And you can make donations there. You can call us and ask questions, email us. And the sponsors that, we require to run, we don't need a lot. We're not asking for tons of money. And We've never been that organization. We're straight across the board. We just need very little, merchandise and prizes to give the people, draw them to come out, because it's nice to give them something when they come out, work the butt off all day.
Well,
before we finish up, give us one example of like a crazy item that you guys have found on the river that you're just like, oh my God, how did this get here? There has to be a lot of those stories, but is there one that stands out in particular?
There's just too many to mention, man. There's a lot of crack-up jokes out there when you find some things. Probably the weirdest thing that a couple people found is pornography items, man. They scare you, so. Yeah.
Somehow I knew it was going there. I've been a fireman for 30 years. I know what goes on at these places, so.
Yeah, so we won't even get into the details there.
Weird. All right, man.
We get wash machines. We found cars. We found safes and tons of different stuff. It's crazy.
Right.
Lots of stolen stuff. So, Jarrod, really, really appreciate the efforts you've put in the last 3 years in your group, and hopefully you can we can continue to help getting more folks your direction and get some more sponsorship on board. Would really like to see RiverJunky continue. It would be detrimental to the environment and to the waters we all enjoy fishing and enjoying the outdoors if it was to go away. So keep up the great work. Can't thank you enough, and thanks for taking the time tonight. And we'll definitely stay in contact with you and hope to help keep you going along.
All right, cool, man. Hey, you have a good night.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Yep.
That is a lot of garbage.
Almost 250,000 pounds, he said? Right?
Yeah.
What is that, 250,000 pounds?
250,000
250,000 pounds. I'm pretty good at the math there, Blake. He's looking at me like, Dad, you're an idiot. All right, this idiot's going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, because first installment, part 1 of Duck Gumbo. Barnum.
Right.
Oh, man, I tell you what. Now, again, these are pre-records because Chef is up north blasting ducks as we speak.
Right.
And doing pretty well. I don't know if you've seen his...
I got to eat a little bit of this duck gumbo.
Yeah, actually
leftover,
you did.
Yeah.
Pretty freaking amazing.
Money.
Isn't it?
Yes.
All you duck hunters out there, this is a recipe that you're going to want to hang on to and use throughout the season. It is fantastic. Duck gumbo. And we're going to get to that right when we come back after this break.
Everyone, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. We're here in the kitchen for the recipe of the week, and that's not pheasant.
That's not pheasant. That's big, beautiful Kelly shot mallards.
Chef Kelly is taking credit for something that we're making.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, sometimes, you know, you guys are over there just slaying the salmon. And yeah, I got to get some credit in there too. So yeah, so today we're going to make a duck andouille sausage gumbo. This is a very good staple of duck camp, and yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're a guide.
Yeah, I'm a duck guide for Pacific Wings, and
awesome.
So yeah, duck is eating a lot.
Yeah, so you have this at least once a week in the camp, huh?
Oh yeah,
at least. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tackle these ingredients as I go.
Okay.
So here is what we call the Holy Trinity of Cajun cuisine. This is the onion, celery, green bell pepper. The French also have their own trinity. It's onion, celery, carrots, which is called mirepoix.
Okay, and we have our Holy Trinity.
Oh yes, but that's little Jesus though.
That's the little Jesus.
So
there's some Jesus in there.
Let's go ahead and start sauteing this off. Good amount of oil actually.
Oh, okay. I see, yeah.
Let that get
nice hot pan.
Yep. Okay, lots of vegetables.
Thank you.
It's going to cook down a lot, so don't worry about that. Okay?
Okay.
Just gonna...
I wasn't worried.
You're not worried? Good.
No.
As long as you're not worried, then I'm not worried.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to season as we go. Yes, I made a little mess on the stove. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're going to wipe it up?
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Okay, so while that's going, let's talk about our duck. So we have our duck is kind of cut into like 1-inch little pieces, and I soak mine in a little saltwater brine for about a couple hours, kind of leach all that blood out, and I believe that has a lot of that gaminess to it. So we're gonna
So
do
is that
that.
about 2 of your big ducks? More like 4.
Well, you know, we shoot them over flooded corn, so you know, these are corn-fed mallards.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So I have these all dried off. Make sure you kind of dry them off so that it's gonna sear really good. Okay, so we're gonna start on these. So we got our pan nice and smoking hot. Like that. And try not to, let's make like 1 layer.
Oh, yeah. Big enough pan to do 1 layer.
Use a big pan. I think.
Careful there.
What is going on over here? I got some stickage. I got. My mallards just don't want to go in the pan.
Wrestling with the mallards.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. So I want to make 1 nice good layer so it gets all the separation between each other.
And have you left some fat on?
No, I cut all the fat off.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like the pheasants.
See, I keep going back to that pheasant.
Oh, I know. You love them.
I do. I've loved everything that you make with
These
pheasant.
vegetables already have cooked down by 1/3 already. So when you first saw it, you go,
yeah.
oh, wow, that was a lot of veg. It cooks down pretty quick.
Yep.
Okay, so now let's talk about our thickening agents. So traditional, can't miss this step, is the Cajun roux. So you can see I took the roux, which is just equal parts fat and flour. This is butter, so I did 1 cup of flour and 1 stick of butter. And I cooked it down to like this kind of nut brown color.
And it's thick like that.
Yeah, and the kind of Cajuns do something a little bit different sometimes. They will use, also use like just straight oil. I don't know if that's because it's cheaper or what their deal is, because it's just not, it's a no-go for me.
Yeah.
I cook too long in French cooking to make roux with just oil.
Yeah.
Okay. Roux was thickening on our duck. It's doing good. Okay, the second thickening agent is okra. Now this is optional because some people will say that, oh, okra, it has a little bit of a slimy texture because in these little cells, when you start to cook it, it has like a different kind of a texture to it. But I like the flavor of them, so I always put okra in there. Typically, I use about 4 times this, but we couldn't really find okra.
Yeah.
So,
and the stuff we found wasn't as good as we would have liked, but yeah.
And so we're probably use more roux than we normally would. So we'll probably use like 3/4 of this.
Oh,
and we'll
I
see where we're at later on. That's why I always make a little bit extra. When I'm in duck camp, I make 5 times this.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to have to make this every single time, because it's, you know, Emerald Lagasse used to say that it takes about 2 beers, you know, time to take, you know, drink 2 beers to cook your roux. So, you know, it's a little bit of time. I mean, I don't drink, but, you know, I understand what he's saying. All right, so that's still going away.
You don't drink and cook?
Veg is doing awesome. Okay, we're gonna add some stuff in there too. We're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of garlic. We can add our okra in now. I have 2 serranos.
Serrano chilies?
Yeah. Now some people will season their gumbo with Tabasco. I'm just not one of those people. If I'm going to put Tabasco, I'm going to put it in the end.
So how spicy is this? Just as a warning to us this time?
2 serranos is nothing. I mean, you know, like maybe 2 out of 10. It really isn't. I'm trying to be nice to y'all. Okay. Okay. So our duck, you can see he's getting some good color on there. We let him go hair more. And so this is a bay leaf. We're going to put 2 bay leaves in there.
And that's just for flavoring. You don't want to eat bay leaves.
Yeah, we want to pull these out afterwards. There you go. And so, okay. All right, so we're going to set aside our duck. And we're just trying to get some good caramelization on there. We're going to add some more oil because we're going to throw our andouille sausage in there too. Okay, so we're building all these different layers of flavors. Yeah, all same pan. Okay, let's check on our Trinity. Looking beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna add just a touch of like a teaspoon of thyme.
Thyme goes a long way.
That's fresh thyme. Yeah, thyme is very strong, so you know, less is better. Okay, we're gonna add our about 3/4 of our roux in. Let that start to melt down in there. And I always have a little bit extra in case I'm not gonna have the texture that I want yet. And it's melting away.
It doesn't take long to get that in there.
Oh yeah.
Seems like how thick it looks, but it would take longer.
All right. Okay, so now we are just going to add, I rendered off some bacon earlier. That's about 6 slices of bacon.
By rendered, you mean?
I just, you know, sauteed it off and.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna start adding our chicken stock. Now I made chicken stock this morning. Somebody had a rotisserie chicken laying around. So
that was Dwayne's.
I don't know.
So you stole it. I saw the carcass.
I don't know what you're talking about. So I made my own chicken stock. So I just had the scraps from my celery, onions, and I had some extra carrots to stick around. Add some bay leaves, and there you go. You have chicken stock. You know, it just cooks, takes like an hour, especially if it's already roasted.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to turn this down.
Okay.
This is a little aggressive.
Just a little.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive.
Oh, Lord.
Don't make fun of me. Come on, man. I'm trying to have some fun here.
No judgment. No judgment.
I sense judgment.
Are you turning red? Did you embarrass yourself?
All right, we got some andouille sausage all sauteed up here.
Wow.
All right, then we got our.
Add it all in there?
Just add it all in there. Add our duck. There we go. Oh, that's looking amazing already.
Yes.
All right, so we're just going to cap this, and this is going to go for about an hour or so.
Oh, so we have quite a while.
Yes, we have a little bit of time. More than 2 beers.
We don't drink and cook.
I know.
Yes. Okay, well, I guess while we let this simmer for an hour,
yes,
we will throw it back.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, We make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Alrighty, welcome back in studio. Gosh, Burnham, I always turn this thing up way
Crank
too
it
loud.
up.
Yeah, well, when we're not talking, I don't know what the volume is. So, part 2 of that duck gumbo is coming up later. You want to stick around for that. That is a phenomenal recipe. As you stated, you shoved that into your pie hole, and you were like, holy cow, this is duck?
Never even realized
you wouldn't know it was duck. So we'll get a little off the duck talk for now and jump down to Tillamook Bay and talk a little bit of Chinook fishing. You ever been down there, Chinook fishing?
I've never fished Tillamook Bay.
You want to get big, bright, girthy Chinook all the way into December? You get down there in that coastal waters of Oregon, and that's where you're going to find them. And one person, an individual that does that on a regular basis, Chris Vertopoulos, Chris V's Guide Service, also one of our FHN Field Correspondents. Chris, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing well, fellas. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great. Were you out there today in this beautiful sunny weather we're experiencing here in the Northwest?
No, I was not, but I start up again tomorrow. I actually went on a fun trip up the Deschutes for the last couple of days.
Oh.
And so I was chasing summer steelhead for probably the last time this year, and now back to work again tomorrow in the rain.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of talk about how the Tillamook fishery was performing in the time that you put on the water before you took this little break, and then we'll talk about what you can anticipate, maybe what this rain's going to do to those fish out in the salt, start to force them up the river a little bit, or what your thoughts are there. But let's talk about that fishery. Let's break it down specific to that Tillamook area or anywhere along that coastal waters that you're fishing. Kind of talk about depth of water you're fishing, depth of troll in your presentation, and how you're going after them.
Well, Tillamook Bay is a very shallow bay, and the deepest spot is about 20 feet deep in the ghost hole. Then in between the jetties, we do have some 50-foot of water right along the north jetty. Right. But as far as the whole bay is concerned, we're fishing in a lot of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 feet of water.
Wow.
And, of course, in situations like that, you're going to use a lot less lead.
Right.
One thing I like to tell people, and they're often surprised, especially more novice anglers, is we catch fish right under the boat. You don't have to get it way out there back behind the boat. You can put in 12 feet of water, you can put 10 ounces or 8 ounces of lead on, bounce it off the bottom, reel it up half a crank, and you're fishing. Wow. In the upper bay, when we fish spinners, we fish 1.5 ounces of lead and then a big size 7 spinner. And we actually let it out 7, 12, 14 strips behind the boat. For some reason, 9's a good number, and you're still dragging along the bottom. And we catch fish in 4 feet of water with 1.5 ounces of lead, just 9 pulls behind the boat. So, I think it's because there's so many boats around. I think the fish get used to the drone of all the motors, and they don't run from a boat, because if they go somewhere else, there's another boat, and another trolling motor buzzing around. So, yeah, you don't have to get it out way behind the boat to catch fish.
Right. Well, tell us a little bit about this Tillamook fishery and the run timing here, because all of the other, as far as north coastal rivers, whether it's to Columbia or Grays Harbor or Willapa, that king run is way earlier. What's going on different in Tillamook that this run is this late in the year and stays all the way through December?
I'm not sure why we have a later run of fish than a lot of the other coastal estuaries. And of course, there are other estuaries up and down the coast that do get some later fish. I know down in the Chetco and the Elk and Sixes down in Southern Oregon, they get some really late fish also.
Yeah,
right. Here on Tillamook Bay, we have 5 rivers that feed it. And then we get some fish that come up some of those rivers early. And then we get some of those rivers get some really late fish in December, and even January. Chinook are going up some of these rivers. The Wilson and the Kilchis River in particular get really late fish. The Wilson also gets some early fish that come in, and if they have some water, late September or October. But it's always been known. The Wilson's always been known as a late late river, and we call them winter Chinook.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I would.
yeah. You know, we get up on the drift boat once we get some water in the rivers and get in these rivers, and we catch them up until we can keep them up until December 31st. And then every once, I've got one in March one time on the Kilchis.
No kidding.
It was not a springer. It was,
right.
Its butthole was all red, you know, and it was going to spawn soon, but it's actually bright and in good shape.
Huh.
So there are some actual winter Chinook that come up some of these rivers here down at Tillamook.
Well, yeah, very interesting. You are you're fishing predominantly that shallow water, Chris. So you know what's the go-to here? Is it a pearl troll and spinner fisheries, a bait fishery? Let's talk a little bit about what you're dragging behind that lead.
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be doing the pro troll thing just because the ocean is rough. We've got 15, 16-foot swells out there. Nobody's going outside. And you don't even want to get near the jetties when the ocean's that rough.
Yeah.
So we'll be fishing well inside the bay in the shallower water. I'm going to start out in the ghost hole tomorrow. I'm going to fish that because we have the last bit of outgoing tide. I'm going to work on the deeper slots or over by the floating restroom. And just throw pearl trolls down there right on the bottom. And, you know, then the tide will switch about 10 o'clock. I'm probably going to stick it out there for a little bit, then maybe move over to the West Channel. The upper bay, by the way, people are fishing pro trolls way up there in that shallow 4, 5, 6 feet of water, too,
wow.
where the Wilson and the Trask River and the Kilchis River all come together. So the pro troll thing's kind of taken over.
Yeah.
You can still go up there and get fish on a herring or on a spinner, but I think the fish are attracted to the darn pro trolls. So, you know, when in Rome, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Right.
If you are running bait out there, you're running an inline rotator flasher with it, running naked herring, and I think at one point you had told me longer leader than you would expect to use in this particular fishery than in most fisheries.
Yes, I have never been a fan of whether it be short bus or big owls or what have you, type triangle flashers here at Tillamook.
Okay.
Not to say that I haven't fished them.
Sure.
But we do have quite a weed factor here.
Mm.
And to me, those fishing a flasher of that sort, it catches more weeds and you have to clean it more often. And I've been fishing here long enough to remember when all we fished was a blue label or a green label herring on a 7-foot leader with a 18-inch dropper and just get it on the bottom, drag it on the bottom, and troll it around.
Oh.
And I still like to fish that way. But not to say every once in a while I don't, grab one rod, reel it up, put a flasher on it, and throw it out there too. But
sure.
I'm more of a no flasher kind of guy here at Tillamook Bay.
Brining up those herring, you just fish natural shine, or do you add any color to them, or?
My preference is to thaw them out, thaw one package out the night before, and fish blood and guts, and just change them a lot.
Yeah.
If I have leftover bait, that goes in a brine. The typical rock salt and a little bit of anise. You can throw some color in there, either some chartreuse or some blue, which I do sometimes. But I like blood and guts. Cut the head off at an angle. Scrape most of the guts out, scrape the backbone, put the herring on the hook, and troll it around out there. That's the way I've done it for years.
Keep it simple.
We got a viewer question. Is anybody down there using like wiggle warts, hot shots, quick fish, anything like that in Tillamook?
In the upper bay, I know friends and myself as well further up as you get kind of where the rivers come together. You can do well with quick fish at certain times of the tide, especially on that outgoing tide. There's some pilings up there, and people will just tie up to a piling and plunk a quick fish out behind the boat, and yeah, you'll get fish doing that. And then I have friends that used to actually troll quick fish around. And now that you say that, the first Tillamook Bay Chinook I ever caught was on a K-15 quick fish right out of the package. Didn't put a wrap on it or anything. Tied it on a leader with 2 ounces of lead and trolled around and got a 30-pounder.
Wow. And how long ago was that?
That was about 30 years ago.
Yeah, about 30 years ago,
Right.
30-pounder, yeah.
Do you notice fish in the estuary, is it a better bite on the outgo, on the incoming? Do you notice a difference?
In certain places fish good at certain times of the tide.
Right.
The ghost hole which is probably the most popular, well-known hole on the bay. It's known for the last 2 hours of incoming. And that extends on up to Bay City, which is just up the bay from there too. the last 2 hours of incoming Ghost Hole Bay City, great place to be. However, there's always a fish or two at least caught at dawn in the Ghost Hole, regardless of what the tide's doing. So it's always a go-to place. Get there, fish it at dawn. If you don't see anything caught after a while, maybe move along if it's not the better part of the tide.
Gotcha.
The jetties tend to fish really good the last 2 hours of outgoing tide. Or if you have a real small tide exchange, the whole outgoing tide is the better time. We do way better on the outgoing tide in between the jetties than we do on the incoming.
Gotcha. This fishery, again, Chris, will continue in the Tillamook area through when? Into November?
We'll have quite a few people here fishing through the middle of November.
Yeah.
After that, it'll really start to taper off. Not to say there aren't a few fish still here, but you'll see people, because a lot of people get in their drift boats and start going after them in the rivers.
Right.
And then people start worrying about Christmas shopping and all that other stuff, and it just kind of lightens up. But I have got fish in the bay into the first part of December, so they're here.
Gotcha.
One story I like to tell real quickly is one Christmas when I lived in Garibaldi. One Christmas many years ago, I was driving into Portland to go spend Christmas with my family, and I stopped at the Ghost Hole. It was a nice sunny day. There's a pull out right along the highway there, and I watched, and there were two boats out there, and both of them had a Chinook on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Yep.
So,
Go figure. You got any openings coming up or still available for the Tillamook fishery, or then as you move up river?
I do have some seats open, and I do have a few openings before it. I do have plenty of openings for drift boat season when that starts happening here pretty soon. Usually around the 1st of November, I kind of commit to the drift boat and start getting in the rivers. But to answer your question, yes, I've got some openings.
Best option for folks to contact you and where?
Phone is always good, 503-349-1377, or you can go to my website, Chris V's Guide Service.
Yes, sir. Okay, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on tonight. You will not be a stranger, as we will plan to stay in constant contact with you, and may have to come down and pay you a visit at some point. And I'm sending you a couple hats so that you can start posting up those fantastic photos on our Facebook page as well. So.
All right, will do. Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Thanks for taking the time. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Good luck fishing, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Yep, he's been fishing that area down there for 30 years. He knows it in and out. And I'm telling you, Barnum, some of those coastal fisheries along that Oregon coast, and these late Chinook, and he mentioned it. That Chetco and those other ones take off clear and through middle December.
Crazy.
Andy is down there every year boating a 40-pound Chinook.
Right.
That you just don't see a lot of those anywhere else anymore. But you do get those freaking unicorns down there. It's pretty exciting. The fact you can get chrome bright Chinook mid-December is something that's just, baffling. Of course, they are traveling quite a ways further south.
Right.
But that being said, they extend on into those rivers, and guys will get them clear into January when they're steelhead fishing. Right. Get that 6 to 10 side drifting rod.
You hook into a 30-plus pounder.
A 30-pound Chinook that you got to let go. But anyway, it's all good time. So check out everything Chris has got going on. Chris Vertopoulos, Chris V's Guide Service is the easiest way to find him. Either his webpage and/or he's very active on social media and Facebook for sure. So with that, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're jumping to the east side. Going to connect with our buddy Shelby Ross, Outdoor Adventures over there out of the Mardon Resort area, duck taxi, and all that he's got going on with duck and goose season upon us. We're going to talk how opening weekend went, how opening week has been for duck hunting, and the walleye fishing's been pretty darn good too. Right. We'll get into a little discussion on the old cast and blast. So we'll check in with Shelby Ross. We come back after this commercial break right here on FHN.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Hey, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. I did it again, Barnum. I got to turn this doggone thing down. It's going to blow my ear out. We are getting through the evening, no doubt about it. David, you're not needed, so just figure that out.
Yeah, enjoy Vegas.
Enjoy Vegas.
Just stay there.
Buy a house.
House in Vegas.
Bet on red. All right, with that, it's time to talk a little bit of duck hunting and a little walleye fishing, Barnum. What do you think?
Sounds good.
You told me you've never eaten walleye.
Never caught a walleye.
What the hell's wrong with you?
You got to catch one to eat it.
Are you American? You got to catch one to eat it. Well, I know this next guy will definitely get you on the walleye if you struggle on your own. Mr. Shelby Ross, Ross Outdoor Adventures. Shelby, how you doing tonight, man?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, always a pleasure. We're just kind of messing around with the equipment here. We caught most of that, but anyway, so you're a busy guy. You had what'd you have going on today? You were doing some seminar or some walleye class or something?
It's the Pacific Northwest Walleye School.
Oh, yeah.
Here at Mardon Resort. Johnny Kendall was world champion of walleye fishing in 2010, and
right.
He's here from Devils Lake, North Dakota, and a bunch of people here for a 3-day class with their boats, and it's part classroom time and part on the water, and quite a class.
Yeah, I know. I've I looked into that. It's very involved as far as the things they're doing. They're actually taking those guys, they bring their own boats. They will help them dial in their own electronics to a level some of those guys don't even know, like me with my Garmin stuff. I use a lot of it, but I don't know everything it's capable of doing, which is typically the case for a lot of guys. This particular class, I know they emphasize on how well, how using your electronics to your advantage, how much more that improves your fishing success rate. And they put a lot of emphasis in getting guys dialed in with their own boats, don't they?
That is a huge part of it. And like I said, walleye are not that hard to catch. They're hard to find.
Right.
And we've come so far with the electronics in the past 10, 15 years. It's just insane. And they were telling the story of Tom Moore's guy in Tri-City. He's been around our tournament tour for years and years. And he's talking about buying the original green box back in the 60s. It was the first flasher. And it was $300 back then. And several states rushed to ban them because if you knew how deep it was, there would be no fish left.
Oh, jeez.
Fishermen would fish all the fish out of all the lakes, and clearly that did not happen, but come a long way since the green box.
Yeah,
right.
No kidding. No kidding. So did you get out on the water today, or were you involved with the class all day?
I was running errands and doing boat work and trying to juggle the combination of duck hunting and fishing, and my shop is in shambles, and it's an annual thing, and
right.
Also trying to winterize a few things. Winter kind of jumped up on us.
Yeah. Let's while we're on the walleye topic, we're gonna get to ducks for sure. But while we're on the walleye topic, as you've been getting out this last couple weeks, now we've had this front move in. I'm sure you guys are going to be blasted with a little bit of weather change if you haven't already. Is it going to affect the walleye fishing much? Has it been pretty good going into this season? And I know it extends on into the winter, but this fall season can be pretty good. How's it been performing for you?
We've had a great fall. The average size fish is smaller than some years, but the numbers are pretty plentiful, and there's a lot of 14 to 16-inch fish. There's just a big year class of them where they kind of dominated the food source. There's quite a few fish, 17 to 20, and then there's an occasional over, and but lots of action. And then add to that as many bluegill as I've ever seen here, and there's some bluegill the size of a pie plate. And I yesterday's trip, 9 dozen worms after our duck hunt we fished, and just action, nonstop action, and had a mess of walleye, some big bluegill, and they released some big bass, and nice afternoon.
Well, on the walleye fishing, has it been mostly trolling that's been working for you, or jigging?
That's I'm primarily trolling bottom bouncers and a slow death rig, smile blade. The blade baiting deal is just starting to go. It seems like under 50-degree water temp is prime blade baiting, and we're 52 right now. So it won't be long. There's been a few that have been caught blade baiting, but it's hard to jig with a group of 6 guys. So.
Yeah. I know I've been over there with you in the past, and when we were jigging, it was cold. I always correlate, if it's cold, we're jigging. If water temp's above 50, we're trolling. How much lead are you using on your bottom walker?
So I've been running 3 ounces on the front rods and 2 ounces on the back rods. And here we had that 22-degree weather, and our fish slid from 15 to 20 foot to 25 to 35.
Oh.
Which is kind of a normal deal with that cold front. And so just slid out a little bit. And right before that, it was crankbaits nonstop. And pulling crankbaits with planer boards, you cover so much water. You cover 10 times the water versus dragging the bottom down.
Sure, yeah. Before we jump to ducks, any color combinations on those smile blades, and what size are you putting a full crawler on, half crawler, double hook set up on your rig? What's the drill?
I'm running the slow death hook with a full crawler.
Okay.
And I just have a lot more action. You do miss some fish, and you just have to be patient and let them eat it. And
right.
I've said for years, the rod holder has caught a lot more fish than any person in my boat, myself included, because it slows you down enough to let them get to that hook. And then, when they load the rod, a nice smooth forward pull and reel. And some of my best catchers in the boat are kids 7, 8 years old. They can't pick the rod up out of the holder. They just crank the handle, and that fish is on, and it just works. But slow death and a UV smile blade here the last couple days. UV glow burst has dominated, and a bigger blade than normal, a 1.5, has been the most productive, and The walleye have been chock full of really small little inch long bluegill, but the game department just dumped a mountain of rainbow trout fingerlings in here that used to go in pens and feed them all winter and release them in the spring. And so saw a guy at the fish table yesterday. Well, in fact, Johnny Kendall was cleaning 2 trout. His wife loves trout and doesn't get them there in North Dakota, so he's taking these 2, 22-inch trout home, and they were chock full of 3-inch rainbow trout.
Huh. Go figure. Well, looking forward to getting over there doing some walleye fishing, but before we jump to that, let's talk a little bit about the old blast of the Cast and Blast. Duck season obviously opened last weekend. Off to a pretty good start. What are you seeing over there out of Mardon and the old duck taxi?
We had a really good opener, a lot more birds than last year, which was just a tough October all the way around. And lots more ducks. Combination of mallards, widgeon, a few teal. There were thousands and thousands of teal here before our 20-degree weather hit, and seems like a lot of them vamoosed. And yesterday's trip, we had several groups of gadwall, some canvasback. You got to be aware that there's some scaup or bluebill in the area, and they are not open until November 6th. So got to be careful on the diver identification.
Right.
And also got a couple speckled belly geese yesterday, and one of the other blinds got a speck as well, juveniles. But those are kind of rare here, so it's kind of a neat deal.
Interesting. Is the waterfowl raft of birds starting to form behind the duck blind out there on the pond?
It is, and on Tuesday, I dropped off a non-guided group in the dunes and was headed back to the dock to take a different group fishing, and there was a raft of probably 1,000 birds halfway between the sand dunes and Goose Island.
Oh, wow.
So they'll slide out there. It's safe away from the shooting in the middle of the lake.
Right, right.
Also, snow geese starting to show up. Started seeing them on Sunday, and they don't open for a couple more weeks because we're going to have our first ever spring season.
Right. Yeah, that's got to be exciting, huh?
It is, but those guys are tough to hunt, and I don't know that I'm amped up to go buy 1,500 decoys. And my buddies who did it last year just got their handed to them all season, and it turns out there just wasn't the hatch of juveniles, and they're relatively easy to hunt. The adults are quite a bit smarter and harder to decoy.
Right.
And they just didn't do well in the snow goose program last year, but I understand that the juvenile hatch is much better this year, so we'll see.
Gotcha. Right. At what point is we're gonna push those birds off to the fields and you start hunting over the corn? When that cold weather finally sets in?
Yeah, when it's cold and when you have days with the highs in 25, even 30, but when we're well above freezing during the day, they tend to not hit that cornfield until right at the end of legal shoot or even after dark. And you want to see good bird watching, you go stand in the cornfield, 20 minutes after legal shoot, and it's just mesmerizing, but not during hunting hours.
Right.
That's a good point. Well, as it turns out, unless something changes, I will see you somewhere around the 26th through 28th, my friend. I'm coming on over there with a little media group, and we're looking forward to jumping in the blind with you, blasting some ducks, catching some walleye, and having a good time for 2.5 days.
Should be a great time. Should be a good time. We'll probably see some new birds by then. That should be right around the first push of birds that are not local. So.
Right. I know you guys are pretty booked solid through the season. You have a few holes and openings. How can folks get a hold of you? What's the best way if they want to check out what you have available? I encourage folks to jump on this, get a hold of you, book either a duck or goose hunt and or a combination walleye trip. You will not be disappointed. It is far too much fun, far too good of opportunity. Lodging is available over there. Give us where folks can get a hold of you so they can come give it a try and find out what Shelby Ross is all about. That's a treat in itself, Barnum.
They can find info on my website at rossoutdooradventures.com or ducktaxi.com.
Right.
And to book a trip, just call Mardon Resort at 509-346-2651.
Very good. All right, buddy. Great to hear from you. Good to get you on the new show and keeping in contact. And like I said, I will see you in a couple weeks. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. We'll see you then.
All right, Shelby. Have a good night, buddy.
You too. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you. Yeah, we'll have to get over there, Barnum.
Yeah.
You've never experienced it. I've been over there a handful of times, and I've never been disappointed. It's sometimes the hunting, obviously, it's hunting, right? It can be a little tougher than others, and sometimes it is just ridiculous the amount of birds that come in. And the walleye fishing can be good, and the colder it gets, it seems that you then start having an opportunity on some of those bigger walleye, albeit, you know, everyone advocates, as we do, to release them big females and, you know, keep them nice 14 to 18-inch males, and yeah, they fillet out. And, you know, he was talking about all the other fish they're catching while they're on the troll. You get some 16-inch perch over there.
Right.
And they are fat as footballs. And I tell you what, you don't throw those back either.
No.
You fillet them out. You've eaten perch.
Yes.
Yellow perch.
Yes.
Very similar in taste to walleye. You're not missing much there. So now you know what you're in for.
Right.
But I'll still bring you some.
Bring me some.
Because I want some of that damn elk meat. So got that shing, walleye exchange for elk. That's the way it works around here at FHN.
That's probably a fair trade.
Yeah, I think it's a fair trade. All right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're going to put the final touches on that duck gumbo back in the kitchen with Chef Kelly and Sheri. You'll want to see how this gets plated, and make sure you follow this recipe and give it a try over the next few weeks as you start putting ducks in the freezer. All right, jump out for a quick break. We come back in the kitchen to finish up the duck gumbo right here on FHM.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the kitchen, and we're here to finish up our gumbo. And before we forget, we forgot a little something.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I did forget to add the diced tomatoes to it. Sorry, I put in 28 ounces of diced tomatoes.
28 ounces of diced tomatoes.
And I wasn't really liking where the direction of the thickness was going, so I added the rest of that roux that I had and added it to it. So we are looking for this kind of texture. So I don't know if you can see that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
pretty thick.
Get out of the way.
Just like that, okay?
Yep.
And so it's usually served with white rice. So we have a little bit of white rice right there.
Is that just regular?
I use
rice?
jasmine. I like jasmine a little bit better.
Okay. Jasmine is your favorite.
Look what you made me do.
Yeah, I know. Got you all worked up over jasmine.
I know.
Fixed it. Well, that just looks terrible.
Yeah, I know, right? So, as you can see, you know, if you want to just kind of stay with that, just the roux texture, that's good. I like a little more okra. This is my personal taste.
Okay.
And I also like to garnish with a lot of green onions. Nice little pop of color.
Yeah.
Never have too much of this. There you go.
And that's
Boom.
it?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Wild mallard andouille sausage gumbo.
Andouille.
Andouille.
Sausage.
Yes.
Well, okay. Well, this sounds so good, like on a fall evening.
Yes.
Yes. Or anytime, really. Yep. Okay. Well, while we dig in, we're going to go ahead and throw it back to you guys in the studio.
have our indicator, which is just
Pop up on the bottom. We're experiencing technical
the line stops against my stopper that is set about 8 feet up the top shot. We have our bobber dogging float, which is designed for bobber dogging. This bottom end of it is cupped so it grabs water and is pushed along, and that basically terminates at our of your presentation. The weight is dragging, so your presentation is actually behind your float. Don't get or have a misunderstanding that you think your presentation is downriver in front of your float, okay? So the float will get pushed along by the water. The weight is dragging on the bottom. In unison, they work together to find that travel lane where the fish are going to be. So I'm going to cast this upriver and show you the float orientation as it's properly drifting along in the current. Okay, so again, much like drift fishing, we're going to throw this upriver in the current, allow the current to push it down. You want to allow time for your presentation, your eggs or bait or whatever you're fishing to get to bottom. Let your lead drag. Float will be pointing downriver, being pushed by the water, dragging the lead along, okay? So we're just like drift fishing. We're going to cast this upriver. Collect some of your slack. If you're doing it right, when you don't have a lot of line belly downriver below your float, you can actually feel it taking bottom. Now, I'm going to simply open my bail and allow line to come off my float. Not letting a lot of line belly get below the float. I mend it, I keep the line near the float, and I keep it moving. And I can extend that drift. If I was drift fishing, it would get to a certain point where it would simply pendulum and come across the river. So with the bobber dogging, I can extend the float and it continues to move downriver. Once I get as far down as I want it to go, to where I may not be successful if I get a bobber takedown, setting that hook, then I'm going to go ahead and reel it back in. Basically, in water moving at this speed, which is a good speed to bobber dog, or float drift as I call it, because we're standing here again, literally drift fishing with a float. It's all about casting upriver, allow it to sink, let the bobber and the current push your presentation downriver. If I'm in a drift boat and we're floating downriver, I typically like to fish out in front of the boat, especially low, clear water, okay? As we move downriver, you want your presentation getting to the fish before the boat bangs rocks, makes noise, pushes the fish out of the hole. Typically, if you're fishing in my boat and I'm rowing, person in the back seat, I like their orientation of the float to be out the side of the boat, forward of them at about the oarlocks or mid-boat. Persons in the front of the boat are fishing about a 45 out in front of the boat in the current scene, downriver, again, presentation before the boat gets it. There are some guys that prefer to drag the bobber dogging rig behind the boat. For me, that's no different than side drifting, because you're literally just dragging the presentation with your float. Albeit the float prevents it from pendulum in behind your drift boat to a point, but truly for bobber dogging, and the way I was taught years ago, is you're fishing this stuff out in front of your boat, get your presentation through the water to the fish before you and the boat get there, okay? So one more time, we're gonna throw it upriver. Collect your slack, let that swing through, open your bail, feed it line. See how nice that bobber just keeps moving. The stick lead down to the bottom a little bit, but it continues to allow the float to move at a pretty consistent speed. If you find that it's grabbing too much, the nice thing about the stick lead is you can simply trim a little bit off and lighten that up. And actually, if I was going to fish this drift for a little while, I would trim that about an inch or so. I'd be running about a 5-inch. Bobber down! Got hung up a little bit. That's essentially it. With this combination, put some fresh eggs on there, a little buoyancy on the hook. Running that bobber dog float and that stick lead again, I could put a 5-inch on here or trim that down a little bit just so I get a little more consistency in my drift. You're gonna find bobber dogging really is advantageous for fishing bait for coho in this type of water. or especially anytime you have bottom depth change. Top of the hole is about 4 feet, drops into a nice pocket of 4 to 6 feet. If you're fishing suspended, you have to adjust that float to accommodate. You might be dragging your bait at the top end, and then you pendulum in, you're basically suspended over the hole where you want to be. Bobber dogging, it's always down in the strike zone within a foot or two of the bottom. It contours along with the bottom, and your presentation will always be in that zone, whether your depth is 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet. If you find you're in deeper water, set your stopper a little deeper, because again, we don't want our float going through the water column vertically, up and down. We always want it laying and pointing downriver, and that's how you're going to find the fish. All right, that's going to do it for us here in the bait lab, or on the river, as it were. We're going to jump out for a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more FHN. All right, we're back.
With sound.
Yeah, because it's blowing my ear out again. So a little hiccup there. Hey, I want to thank everybody that hung in there for the, I don't know, a couple minutes that we lost our sound. But Blake, the specialist in IT, figured it out for us, thankfully, so we could get through the rest of the show.
Right.
Now we'll kind of jump back to what we were doing when this whole debacle unfolded. Yeah, right before your very eyes. We still got time to kill here. We'll jump into a little weather report, Barnum, just to kind of give folks a little insight, as if you look outside, you didn't know it was freaking pouring rain.
Right, but I think
it's going to do something. It's going to, affect our rivers. It's going to kind of put us on the sidelines for a little bit for fishing our rivers and whatnot for about a week or so.
Right. Yeah, let's take a quick look at this, just so you guys know. I mean, we've heard a lot of talk about heavy rains that were coming, leftover monsoons or typhoons or whatever it was, and that kind of earlier in the week didn't really transpire. It ended up moving a little farther north, and we didn't get pounded with the rain Tuesday and Wednesday that we thought we were going to get. But today, things changed a little bit. As you can see, all up and down the coast from southern Oregon all the way through Washington, just pounded today. Inch of rain in a lot of places, over 2 inches up in the mountaintops. And as we go in tomorrow, that's more of the same. Inch plus rain tomorrow on all the west side, 2+ inches in the mountain range. You can even see here on the higher peaks, you can see up to 4 inches. East side, similar. You guys are getting rain, a 1/4 of an inch. As you start to get up here into northern Idaho, a little heavier, maybe an inch or so of rain up in northern Idaho. I mean, we're getting the rain, guys. It's coming. And this is going to continue. Saturday, as you can see here, wet all over the region. Sunday, we're going to be mainly wet again on the coast, and Monday, wet again all over the region. So, I mean, we're getting pounded with inches of rain over the next 4 to 5 days, so that's just going to continue to happen. Let's check out some river levels here and see what they're going to do. As you can see here today, which today was the 17th, river levels after today's rain are starting to climb, and they are going to continue to climb all the way through the weekend, all the way through the first part of next week. And you're going to get a little dip here towards the end of next week, and then it looks like it's going to shoot back up again for next weekend. So, I mean, rivers are going to get a bump. Oh yeah, as we like to say.
Well, it's our first significant bump, really. So, I mean, we had water in January. We had water in September. We had water in October now. But the first significant bump like this is going to gather a lot of debris and stuff along the shoreline. Of course, the leaves are dropping now, the wind. The rivers get pretty filthy really quick, and it takes them a little bit longer to clean up this first go around. But yeah, you got the camel humps right there. Look at the Puyallup, right?
Yeah, that's the Puyallup here. Before I was showing you guys the Sats up, and I just wanted to do a little comparison kind of south to north. And there's the Puyallup, and yeah, I mean, you're going to see a steep incline, a quick drop off, and then another steep incline.
Big pickup,
yeah. And I mean, a lot of this might be the heavy rain that's in the mountains that we're going to see, and we
got windows of opportunity there on the drop, first significant drop, and then as it bumps back up, the difficulty with that first significant drop, you look at those dates, that's prime time blacktail rut season over here on the west side, right? So it's like, well, okay, rivers are going up right now, so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna hunker down on my tree stand and my ground blind. I'm gonna go hunt some deer. I'm gonna, hike around and go find some deer or do whatever.
This is great deer hunting weather.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely great.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that river starts dropping. A few days into that drop, it'll start cleaning up. coho fishing should be extremely good in a lot of locations.
Right.
But if you still haven't tagged out yet, you're probably still going to be in the woods. You got to get your deer.
Right. Yeah, the days leading into these, you know, the precursor leading into these heavy rains, you know, maybe 6 hours, 8 hours before these fronts hit, and then right after it shuts off, you get that little 6-8 hour break between, you know, systems, and the deer hunting can be phenomenal.
Oh yeah, yeah, good point. They a lot of people don't. I mean, a lot of guys understand that barometric rises and falls affect salmon fishing especially.
Right.
Steelhead a little bit too, but salmon in particular, and you talk to the bass guys.
Right.
They seem to be responsive to that barometric pressure rise and fall.
Right.
Well, it really affects your hoofed population as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to put yourself, I always say, put yourself in an animal's perspective. You live in the wild. So think about, you know, you see the weather forecast, which we see it on TV, we see it on the internet. We don't feel it like an animal does per se. You know, you feel it a little bit, but you know, like, oh my God, rains are coming. I got to get my yard cleaned up. I got to do this. I got to do that. Deer are the same way. They know it's coming.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, I need to get out. I need to get good bite of food in. You know, put a little extra effort into feeding because I'm gonna be hunkered down here for, you know, a few days or a day. It's gonna be wet and nasty.
Yep.
And then just like us, that rain breaks and the sun comes out a little bit, and they're, you know, we're like, oh, let's get outside. Let's go fishing. Let's go hunting. Let's do this. Deer are the same way. The sun comes out a little bit. They've been soaking wet for 2 days. They want to feel a little sunshine too.
Yeah, they're like, hey, now I got to go eat again, right? So yeah, as we get through this transition of extremely wet, a little bit of blowing out there, lots of leaves coming down, rivers will eventually clean up. We'll be back on the water. We have opportunity in the woods, and of course, the duck hunting is just going to even get better on the wet side here. So we got a lot of options. One other option that I was hoping we'd get to mention. WDFW recently released a razor clam face-off.
Right.
We have a ton of dates coming up. We talked about it previously, 5.2 million clams on the horizon for us to go get. They put an email out, so if you're on the email informational chain, as Barnum and I advocate that you are, you would get this notice from WDFW on this upcoming razor clam face-off. They call it face-off, Barnum, because it's Team Clam Gun or Team Clam Shovel.
Right. And
you simply take your photos and post them up on the WDFW site. Go to their social media, go to their webpage. It'll direct you to where to go. And you use the hashtag Team Clam Gun, Team Clam Shovel with your photo, which then basically lets everyone know which side of the fence you fall. And at the end of it, they're going to basically take a look at if they get more photos on the shovel or the gun side, right? Kind of a little fun spin on how they're trying to promote the clam opportunity. Also, within this big write-up here on social media that's being released is all the dates available for clamming. And understand that the fall and winter clamming is no daylight hours.
Never.
They put it in, it's very specific in there. The times are after noon. You cannot clam before the noon hour. And then you want to fish that outgoing tide, and most of them fall late in the afternoon to early evening or late in the evening. And it's always nighttime and headlamps. I meant to ask Tom, why don't we get a day? We got 5.2 million clams to go after.
The main reason is because in the wintertime, the minus tides fall in the evenings. That's just how it works.
The better minus tide.
Yes. Yeah, because you want to dig the clams on the minus tide.
You get the low tide in the midday, but you don't get the minus tide.
It's not a minus tide.
That's the reason.
Correct. Yeah, it takes it through the winter months, and then into the spring, those tides will flip, and you'll start to get us minus tides in the morning. So that's the main reason.
That's the main driver. But it's going to be a lot of opportunity, especially as you get in November. There are a ton of dates to get out there, and it can be a little chilly.
Yeah, and spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Clam shovel is way better.
Then a clam gun?
Yes.
You're a shoveler, huh?
I promise you. I mean, clam guns are great for beginners and for keeping nice, clean clams and never breaking any when you're not quite sure what to do. But I'm telling you, for volumes of clams, Doug, you will never beat a shovel and a guy that knows how to work it.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a technique.
Oh, for sure. It's very easy to crush clams with a shovel.
It's very easy. If you are new to the clam team and want to get involved, follow this instructional video WDFW put out. I believe it's in like 2017, but it's very, very good. Walks you through the process of choosing either a gun or a shovel. shows you how to properly dig. First of all, it shows you how to find and identify a clam in the sand and how you locate them, and then it shows you how to dig. Talks about the tides that you want to, go after them. And so the video shot during the daylight, which is great because you can see, but you're going to be clamming at night with a headlamp. It's a game changer, especially just locating them in the dark with a headlamp. So, but lots of opportunity there. Winter crabbing is in full swing. Got some opportunity there. The crabbing out off of the Columbia is still absolutely insane. Big crab, plentiful numbers. Do yourself a favor, get out, get some crabs, get some clam. Take opportunity of these dates. Stock up your freezer, man. I mean, go after it, right? So, anything else you want to add before we bust on out of here?
I think we're good.
You're just heading to the east side.
I'm heading to the east side, which is going to be the wet side this weekend.
Oh, yeah. You got any bucks showing up on those cameras, by the way?
Nope. And not even worried about it until November.
I know.
It's common.
I know. Yeah.
I'm in a location where when the rut happens, they show up, and other than that, they just don't live there.
Right.
I'm changing that, but as of right now, they don't live there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I like the numbers of does, fawns, yearlings that are basically hanging in the area, the 20 acres I'm hunting. Starting to draw bucks in, got a nice healthy 2-point that's coming in, which for me, that's, opportunity. He comes walking in. I'm not waiting for a 4-point blacktail. not around here because I got buddies that will blow up my phone and say, oh, they're everywhere. I'm like, yeah, they're in that guy's backyard and they're in that guy's backyard. But, where I'm hunting, I'll take the buck that I can get. So have a great week, everybody. Get out there and fish when you can, obviously, as these rivers drop. Get out and shoot some ducks. Get out there and get your deer. Season is upon us, and we got some clamming, got some crabbing. There's a lot to do, even though the weather is pretty crappy. Just got to, put in your time, get some reward, share your successes on our Facebook page. We'd love for you to interact with us on Facebook. We put a lot of content up there weekly, trying to keep you guys educated as the week progresses as to what's going on and things happening within WDFW, ODF&W, and Idaho Fish and Game. So stay in contact with us. Share our content, please. And if nothing else, for the several thousand folks that tune in every week, do us a favor. Jump over to our YouTube channel. Let's start building our YouTube channel. Barnum, we got to start focusing on that YouTube channel. And to do that, we need folks just to simply hit that subscribe button. So locate us on YouTube at Fish Hunt Northwest. Hit the subscribe, build our numbers, and help spread our content so we can keep bringing this to you as we begin to walk down that road of bringing on more advertisers. You guys are doing a great job following our content, spreading our content, and we thank you for that. We just ask you to continue doing it so we can continue to bring you stuff week in and week out. All right, Barnum, with that, we're going to jump out of here. We'll be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. And until then, have a great week. Get outside.